Hey guys, welcome back to episode number 3. Today is a pretty exciting episode. Finally get to see what the house looks like with some wood on it. So we're going to be covering a few things today. We're going to be covering the subfloor, what we used, why we used it, and why we think it's important. We're going to be covering the backfill and the rough grade of the property around the house. We're going to be covering storm sewer drain and how it was installed and where it drains out to, and then we're also going to be covering the structural support and kind of give a walk around and see what's going on in the basement. Stay tuned and let's get started. Alright guys, so we ended up actually going with Huber Blue Plus Subfloor system. It's a tongue and groove system. There's a few reasons we ended up going with Huber Blue Plus. The biggest reason is how much it stands up to weather. The reason that is a very important process because obviously it's going to rain throughout the entire process of building, and you're going to have water sitting on all the subfloors and it seep into the joints and everything, so it's got actually sealed edges. And the reason this is so important is because when water sits on it, it doesn't warp, it doesn't expand, so you still get that nice flat finish when it gets time to start doing your finish flooring on the house. Sorry if it's a little loud, we got our Tyvek wrap kind of blowing in the wind, so let's get to the rough grading of the property, and then we also are going to go over the storm drain system and where it exits. Alright, let's get started. We're going to go over the backfill process, what steps we took and how we did it. We'll kind of break it down a little bit. We're also going to be going over the storm sewer pipe installation stubs for the rainwater to tie into, so kind of walk around with me and we'll kind of also go over the rough grade of the property. If you can tell, a lot of dirt has been moved over the last I'd say week or two. So let's get started with the backfill process. So we ended up actually backfilling the first 4 to 5 feet was actually all gravel stone, 57 stone. So the reason we do this is to eliminate the hydrostatic pressure that the dirt would put on the house during like rainstorms and whatnot. So that actually improves the drainage. That also gives your storm sewer setup better drainage, and that is very important when it comes to keeping water away from the house. So we kind of installed them in every single corner of the house. We also kind of did it on the corner of the patios. I don't know if you can see it way back in there, it's kind of shaded. So that's a very important step to keep that gravel up to around above the frost line, and then backfill the rest with dirt. That way it gives good drainage to your house. You don't have any water issues. Water doesn't intrude into your basement, so that gravel is going to allow water to go all the way through, and then your footer drains are actually going to catch it, and you can't really see, but it's going to be exiting out the side of my property right along the property line. This is a natural swale that all the water can accumulate at, sit at, and percolate properly over time. So we ended up running the storm sewer all the way around the property, and that's basically going to catch all the rainwater that hits the roof, and it's going to take it away from the property so we don't have any water issues in the future. And we also ended up moving a lot of dirt in the back. I don't know if you can tell, we've probably had around, I'd say 35 to 45 truckloads of dirt come in from another project that we needed dirt, so they just dropped it, and then we hired a dozer to come out, raise the land. We've probably raised it around, I'd say 8 inches at least back here, because it used to be real soft, real wet, and it wouldn't percolate good, so it would just be basically mushy black dirt. And then in the back section. You can see a couple piles still back there. That's actually a swamp area that we're also getting dirt to come in and fill that up. The reason we want that filled up is because eventually I do plan on building a pole barn back there, and that's going to kind of house all my toys and everything else, toys for the kids and whatever else we need to put in storage. So let's jump to the basement and we'll kind of go over the structural supports in the basement, what kind of joist system we ended up using, and kind of what we thought we were going to use and what we ended up going with. So let's head to the basement and I will see you guys down there. Alright, let's get started. We're going to go over the floor joist system, what we chose, why we chose, and the other options there are. So I'm going to kind of walk through the basement. I'm also going to break down the structural I-beams we got in the basement, what's so important about them, what we did different, and kind of give you guys a breakdown of what we did to certain sections of the house to reinforce certain areas. So let's get started. We ended up going with a 2x10 floor joist system. The main reason we ended up going with this is, to be 100% honest with you, it was because of cost. For an open web system or an engineered I-beam system, you're talking anywhere from $7,000 to $13,000 more for this size of house. So that was a big chunk of change that really honestly wouldn't really do much for us besides allow a little bit more room for the HVAC to run their duct systems through the open web system. And the engineering floor joist, honestly, I'd rather have dimensional for a few reasons. The way the engineering, if you're not familiar, the way the engineering floor joist system works is there's a 2x4 sitting on top, there's a 2x4 sitting on bottom, and then it's connected by a OSB vertical section, and it's basically a wooden I-beam in a way. So the reason I didn't want that system in the house, a lot of newer builds have it, but I just decided to go with dimensional lumber, is for fire retardant. So it's going to be a lot harder during a fire. Granted, I hope that never happens, but during a fire, the dimensional lumber actually holds up a lot better than the I-beam system. They collapse a lot sooner than what dimensional lumber would. It's more structurally sound, I think personally, in the building of joist systems. So let's kind of walk around. We're going to go over the I-beam steel that we put in. So if you can tell, there's kind of posts sitting around our basement. If you look, you got a pad on each and every single vertical beam. That kind of is a footer for it to sit on. That's going to bear all the weight of the house. So everything that's above these beams are sitting on these legs, sitting on those footers, and that's bearing the whole weight of the entire house. The reason that's very important is to get it right the first time. Is that way, if you, let's just say you put a smaller gauge steel or even a smaller I-beam than you need, your floor is going to bounce, your floor is not going to be as structurally sound, and you're going to notice it when you're walking upstairs around the house. So that's a very important process or part in the building process, and it is very important for you guys to get engineering involved and make sure that you guys are running the correct steel or even the correct beams to support your load that your house is going to be putting on it. So we ended up actually going, I don't know if you could tell, we got one I-beam running the entire section of the house, and then we also got another one. I don't know if you could tell, walk over here. This one is actually also going to be running the whole length of the house. So we ended up actually changing this. So at first we were going to run an 18-inch beam. These are 10 I believe, 10 or 12 inches. We're going to actually run an 18-inch beam, but I didn't want to drop the headspace that much. But we could have eliminated that middle pole, and that's going to be like our living room section for the basement. So the reason we didn't do that is because the cost of the beam was significant. It was a custom order, it was a special order, so it would have took time for it to come in, and it would have delayed our building progress. But we'll just decorate this beam. We'll end up wrapping it in wood or some type of cedar additional to these I-beams once we finish this basement, and that's going to give it a nice rustic look. So we'll kind of go over some other beams that are installed in the house. We also installed a beam over here. This is actually going to be our theater room. We had to do that because it only runs a 16-foot span, being you can't run past that span, otherwise your subfloor and your 2x10 system is not going to be to code, and it's also not going to be structurally sound. So that is a big reason on why we have those little beams in the bar area, which is way back over there by the door, and then also in the theater room. So I appreciate you guys tagging along for episode 3. I hope you guys are getting some good valuable information from this channel. If not, I'm sorry. But if you guys have any questions or anything regarding the process of building, please leave a comment down below. I would greatly appreciate it if you guys subscribe, hit that like button, and we will see you guys in the next episode. If there's anything I left out, be sure to comment and I'll cover it in the next video. Next week we are going to be going over the framing process of the house. We're also going to be kind of going over the progress of the walls, what we chose, 2x4, 2x6, our ceiling height, just kind of going into depth on what the structural integrity of our house is going to be when it comes to everything else. We'll kind of go over window placement, a few other things. So just stay tuned. I'll see you guys in the next, like, I'd say week and a half, and hopefully we'll have some walls. So I'll see you guys then. I appreciate you guys tagging along.